Hey guys, it's Chala from Crafting Through the Chaos of Life. Thanks so much for joining me for another video. I wanted to quickly come on and share with you kind of another style of library pocket that is kind of loosely based off of, it's based off of one by Cori Dahmen, where she does her 6x6 library pocket flip. And I am going to actually rename it because hers is also a belly band, and I'll show you why I'm renaming it in a minute here. I'm going to call mine the 6x6 double library pocket flip and belly band. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do to get started is I want you to pull out some 6x6 pattern papers. Now I know you have some. If you don't, I know you have 12x12s hanging around. Go ahead and pull those out. For your first time doing this, let's not try to pick something that's overly directional. Just because this first time we want to put it together, and then when you pick something that has a directional feature to it, then we'll worry about getting everything in the right order. So this is my little template that I made. So Cori Dahmen's was just a flip. So it was just one piece like this, okay? It's one piece. And it would connect to a page, fold over, and it would just be a flip that you could glue to a page. I decided to do mine a little differently. I wanted to do two of them, but I wanted them to be able to go and be sewn into a signature. Okay, so you can do this one of two ways. I'll try and show you both ways. One, just a flip, and one as a page piece that can be sewn into a signature. Okay, so the basis of this is that it's like a library pocket, that you have like a smaller pocket here. Let's just use this. So we've got a pocket here for a little something something. We have a pocket here, okay? And then you flip it, right? And then you have like the other side of that pocket, and then you have another pocket here. So that would just be the flip that Cori Dahmen did, okay? So pretend that it's cut off here. I ended up combining them. And then so what she did is she left this open to be a belly band. Or you can glue it shut like I did, and it could be a pocket. The other side of mine, because I wanted it to be a page, I made this one a belly band. Now you could definitely, do it the other way. This one could be the belly band in the front, and this is the pocket, whatever you like, right? So this one is the pocket, right? The small pocket in front. The middle piece is actually the belly band, so you can have something long in here, like a long tag or, what have you. Then you flip it over and you have the same thing, right? The belly band goes through the middle, and then a small pocket here, and then of course this gets sewn in. So let's take a look and see how we can do this. All right, so I am actually part of a junk journaling group on Facebook where I have decided to sign up for the May Happy Mail swap, and our theme is May flowers and lace. So I've picked this beautiful floral pattern here, and it's only one-sided, and that's okay. That's okay for this. I'll show you how to get away with that. If you have double-sided paper, it's even easier, okay? So let's get started. The first thing we're going to do is take our 6x6 paper and score it at 3 inches. Now, if you are working with directional paper, you're going to want your writing face like up here. And again, if you have directional paper, you may want to do it the way I did it, where I'm going to cut the bottom part off. Otherwise, you're probably going to want to play around with your orientation, because when you go to flip this up with the double-sided paper, this stuff may be upside down. So just something to keep in mind. Okay, so let's start off by scoring this one at 3 inches. So a 6-inch piece, and then we're going to score it in half at 3 inches. Okay. Then for double-sided paper, you're going to turn it kind of counterclockwise. You're going to turn it counterclockwise, and you're going to score it at 4 1/4 inches. Hopefully you guys can see that. You might want to zoom in or screenshot. For me, I'm using single-sided paper, so I am going to turn my paper and I'm actually going to cut it at 4 1/4. So I'm just going to move this aside for a minute. And then I'm going to bring out my trimmer and I'm going to cut it at 4 1/4. So there is 4 1/4. So here's my score line going horizontal. Okay, and I'm going to make my cut line vertical to that at 4 1/4. Now let's just make sure this is straight. I have a tendency sometimes to get carried away and cut crooked, so I want to be extra careful here, especially since I'm going to be giving this away. Okay, so I'm going to keep this piece. Okay, and now I'm going to actually come back. And so if you are doing double-sided paper, you don't need to do the next step. If you're doing double-sided paper, you're simply going to fold that up, okay? And then you can fold it back down. And then you're going to take your scissors and then you're going to trim up to that score line, okay? So I would just be cutting up to that score line. But since mine is single-sided paper, I am going to cut at that score line, okay? So I think I'm actually going to turn it over only because that makes it a little bit easier for me to see. And so you'd be cutting it right in half, which would be at the 3-inch mark, okay? So we'll cut that at the 3-inch mark. So we've cut it in half. Okay, done and done. So this is our first pocket. So if you're just doing the flip, then you're just going to make one pocket. If you're going to do my page, you're going to make 2 of these. They don't have to match at all. That doesn't matter, but whatever piece that you're going to hinge them with, you want to make sure it kind of coordinates, or it's a neutral color, or you know, you might want to put lace on it, but we'll get to that. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is in order to make sure that this is just a little bit, it's the only problem with scoring is you always have like a little piece that's slightly longer than the other. So I'm just going to see if I can trim that down just ever so slightly. Okay. All right, so I want my thumb notches. Now I did these little thumb notches here, and I kind of want them even or center with each other, right? How I do that is I just put them together. And so I could fold this in half. Fold this nicely in half, and then I'm going to press down on that score line I've created. Just give it a nice good crease. Okay, let's take a look at the orientation of my paper. Mine, it doesn't matter, right? It doesn't matter at all. And then I would take a look at my pockets, making sure that they're the proper side up. I think I want it, how do I want it? Yeah, I think I want it like this. So my thumb notches are going to be up here. And to guarantee that I get them in the exact same spot, I'm going to punch through all of them at once. Now this can be a little tricky because that's quite thick. You may want to measure or do Cori Dahmen's technique of cutting one and then lining up the little cut notch and like gluing it on and then recutting it, but I'm just going to do it this way. The first time I did my notches, I did my 1-inch circle punch. This time I am going to use, I quite like this 2-inch oval. I'm going to use this instead. I just like the look of that notch. It's not so circular, it's, you know, oval. So I like this a little better. So I'm going to do my darndest. Actually, let's clip these together so it doesn't move on me, or have a less chance of moving, because I'm probably going to have to use 2 hands to punch this. Let's actually use a paper clip because it's got a lower profile. There we go. Put one on this side. And I'll put one on this side. Okay. I'll just hold it nice and still for us. Let's see if we can get these rogue pieces of paper out. Let's get them out of my way. Okay, good enough. I say that, but it's going to bug me. I don't like it when it gets in my way of seeing where my paper is. So let's make sure we're cutting the right side here. Okay, so there's my little pockets up here and the rest of my pocket base there. And I'm going to try my darndest to get it somewhat in the middle. So there's a little bit hanging out there. Oh, that's not quite center. How about that? That's about good. I think. Yep. Let's get it somewhat straight. Hold your breath, and I'm going to punch. Ooh. See, I had to use 2 hands, but it did go through, and now I have these beautiful thumb notches that are the same on every piece, and they're going to line up. Now, you may want to use, if you're folding it, you're obviously going to have some different pattern on this side, right? It's going to show a different pattern, and you'll be able to distinguish the pocket easier. This one is the same, so I might have to get a little bit creative because I'm not sure if inking it is going to, because this one's pretty dark, if it's going to make it stand out. I could use another complementary colored pocket like I did here. So right, I did the 2 pockets and I just swapped the pieces so that the pockets stood out more. Does that make sense? But for this one, I'll end up decorating the pocket a bit and making it stand out that way. So if you are an inker, you're going to want to ink now. Ink up your edges. It's just easier to do it now. So if your pocket is attached, you're going to have to do yours differently, right? You're going to have to, so this would be your attached pocket, okay? You're going to have to clip these 2, because I have it folded in half, and then you're going to have to clip your 2 pockets at the same time, and hopefully you can get them somewhat the same. Again, not a big deal if they're off a bit, that's fine. Okay, and then you can see how inking that up, hopefully I'm on camera, it stands out a little bit, but we might figure out another way to make that stand out a little more. I'm not sure. We'll figure it out. Okay, so if you've done one-sided like me, you're going to glue your pockets on. If you've simply flipped them up and cut the middle, then all you're going to do is go ahead, ink, and then you can glue your sides. So for the folded ones, you only have to glue the 2 sides. So these front pockets, we're not gluing this yet. Don't glue this yet. Okay, so if you folded this up, you're just going to glue on this side and this side, but for me, I have to glue on my 3 sides. Hopefully you're staying with me. It's a little bit confusing in the beginning, but I think you'll understand what I mean. Okay. And again, because these pockets are fairly small, you don't want your notch to be too big. Okay, so now I need to get this on here nicely. Make sure that nothing's hanging over on my fold. And I'd rather it be even on my fold so that I could trim this side if anything is hanging over. But I've got it fairly straight, so that's a bonus. Okay, so we have that one down. Now we just do the same thing with our other pocket. You're either going to flip it up and glue your 2 sides, or if it's single-sided paper, you're going to ink it and do your 3 sides. There we go. So I hope you're all well and finding time in your craft areas for today. Again, I've had another bump in subscribers, so thank you so much for everybody for subscribing. Please do like. Oops, that does actually help me out. Say hi if you want. I always like that. Like to know where you're from. Let me know where you're from. Okay, so I'm going to line this up on the folded edge. That way if there's anything hanging off this left side, the open side, it's easier to trim. Which there might be just a smidgen, but it might not be too bad. So nice and flush there. And then we'll take a look. Yeah, it's so minuscule. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it, I don't think. Okay. So there we go. Now we'll just make sure the rest of our areas, if you're an inker, go ahead and make sure that the rest of your pieces here are inked, and we'll move on to the next section. For the next section, let me just put this stuff away and kind of get situated again before I get too far ahead of myself. Okay. So we've scored for the double-sided. We've done that. We've turned and scored. This is all our cutting. Number three, we've done the fold up and snip the center. If you are doing the single-sided paper, you're going to cut the paper in half, and then we did our thumb notches, right? Now we're going to work on some hinges and gussets. Now, I'm not sure how well you'll be able to see that, but if you're doing Cori Dahmen's flip, what you're going to do is you're going to cut a 1-inch strip by 4 inches. Okay? So that's this piece here. Okay? If you're going to do a page like I did with 2 pieces like this, sorry, let me try that again. For the flip, you're going to cut 1 piece at 1 inch by 4 inches, and then you're going to cut a second piece 1 inch by 1 1/4 inches, okay? This piece is 2 inches because I'm doing the, actually, let me just cut this in half and we'll do one together. It'll probably make more sense, I think, if I do it like this. So I'm just cutting this off camera here. Okay. Okay, so for our flip, we've got 1 at 1 4 inches, and we've got 1 inch at 4 1/4 inches. Let's just make sure I've got that right. Yep, okay. I need my scoreboard. Okay, then what we're going to do, if you're doing the page, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to have that 1 inch by 4 inches, but the middle hinge piece, okay, because this is going, the 1 inch by 4 inch is our gusset, and the 1 inch by 4 1/4 is the hinge. For our page, our gusset stays the same, but our hinge is going to be 1 1/2 inches by 4 1/4 inches. Okay, so let's do a flip. The next part is scoring these in half the long way, right? So you're going to score it at 1/2 inch. Okay, for the page, you're going to take your 1 1/2 inch piece by 4 1/4 inches, and you're going to score it at 3/4 of an inch, and that will be the exact middle of that 1 1/2 inch piece. If you do a 2 inch piece here, then you're going to score it at 1 inch. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay, so there's scored in half for the 4 1/4, and we're going to score it in half again on our 4 inch piece. Okay. Super. So now we just simply fold them in half, and then we're going to just press them down with your scissors, bone folder, whatever you have, your fingers, just making sure you get a nice crease. And why did that not score nicely or fold nicely? This one doesn't matter. It's okay because this is our gusset, so no one's going to actually see this one. So I'm not going to get too twisted about it, but usually I like it when they're scored and folded properly. Okay, so there's our gusset piece. And then this would be our hinge piece. For this one, I did 2 inches for my hinge. I just thought that might be a little big, so I went with 1.5 for this one. What did I do here? Oh, sorry. Okay, I'm sorry guys. So for this one, that is a page insert, I did 2 inches, but then I thought it was too big, so the measurements I gave you was 1.5. If you don't think that's enough, go ahead and go up to 2 like I did here. It's just going to leave that piece showing, but again, you can decorate that with whatever you want, some lace, what have you. Okay. That was a little confusing, I apologize. But I'm pretty sure you'll understand what I'm trying to get at here in a minute. Oh my goodness, these are fiddly. Why are they so difficult to fold? Should be easier when you score them, right? Theoretically. Okay. Fine, let's go this way. Is that better? Yeah, I think that's better. Okay. And then I'll just press this down. Okay. The first thing we are going to do is put our hinge on. And our hinge again is that 4 1/4 piece. Now, with the hinge itself, you want to make sure that when you're gluing it down on the inside, so where it opens here, we're going to glue it on the inside so it's a nice, neat edge. And then you'll have your flip, I guess, depending on what side of the page you want to put it on. So this would go on the right side of the page. Or sorry. Yeah. Okay, so if your hinge is to your left, you're probably going to want to glue it down on your page like this. So then it would flip open this way. Okay, and then you'd probably want to put some washi tape or whatever. Or again, you could also put it, you know, I guess on this side of the page, like this, so it would flip out. Okay, like that. And then maybe you want to put like a little bit of a fabric ruffle or something, like a cluster or something on this page to cover that. It's just whatever you prefer. I kind of like doing it this way so that there's something decorative on this side as well. I have something, I could, you know, make this a side tuck on this side. That way when you flip it open this way, it's a neat edge, you don't see that hinge, and then you've got your pocket here. Okay? Or your belly band, whatever you choose to do. If you have a belly band, you might want to go a little higher up on the page, just so nothing sticks out the bottom. Okay. But I digress. I got a little carried away there. And again, if you want it on the other side of the page, you're just going to flip your hinge the other way, okay? Just depending on how you want it, right? This would be opening this way on the other side of the page. Okay. So let's go ahead and glue this. And I'm going to put the glue on the, I'm going to do mine on the inside here. Just like this. And then when I go to, actually I do like to, because it's white on the inside, if you have double-sided paper, it's not going to be so noticeable because you're going to have whatever pattern on the inside. But with the white paper, I do like to give just a wee bit of ink on the inside, just so if the person does, you know, take a peek in there, it's not so stark white. Okay. Hopefully this didn't dry. And then we're going to put that on there, making sure it's lined up, and then making sure that your paper isn't impinging on the fold part, if that makes sense, right? Because we want this to fold over nicely. If we glue it too far up, too close to that score line, it's going to impede on that and it's not going to fold nicely. You know, you may want to err on the side of caution and glue it a titch lower just to be safe. Again, if it's too low, not a big deal. You can, you know, always put something decorative there to cover that. And then it looks like that is pretty good. And then I have just a wee smidgen hanging over the edge here, and that is going to bother me only because it's a different color. So it's going to be noticeable. So there. Again, you don't have to do that if that doesn't bother you. Okay, so that's good. That is our hinge. Now we want to work on our gusset. So this is the 4-inch piece, and we're actually going to miter the corners. You don't have to have too big of a miter, just a little bit. That way nothing sticks out the end of your pocket or the sides of your pocket, okay? I am a little crazy as well, and I'm just going to ink up this gusset part just on the off chance that it shows on the edges. Not the end of the world if it does, but it's just helps me sleep better at night. So, okay, so then for this one, we are going to glue it on this side just because it's a little easier. And so you can see how it doesn't go right to the edges there. Okay. And we'll just kind of find where we want it, and then we'll end up, so here's the opening. The opening is on the inside. And then we'll just glue. I like to use a liquid glue. You can use a tape runner if you want. The tape runners, I always get a little nervous because as they get older, they do tend to lose their stick and they will open up. Whereas with art glitter glue, I know it's going to stick forever. And with glue stick, I just don't think it's strong enough. I'm worried that over time it will, like the tape runner, it'll come off. Okay, so the best way to do this is I want to line it up. Let's try and do it straight. Okay, I find it easier just to lift it up so that I can see. I have a wee bit of the tiniest amount of wiggle room with art glitter glue, but just enough. Again, you don't want it hanging over. You want it nice and flush, or even just a titch underneath to see the white again, because you don't want it hanging out. Okay, and just press that down. And this will just give you a little bit more room in your pocket. So when we go to glue that down, can you see how it kind of gapes open a little bit? If I didn't put that in there and we glued it down, we wouldn't have that much of give in that pocket. So again, if you don't like doing gussets, go ahead and skip this step and then just glue this right down to your hinge. It's not the end of the world, but I just thought this was a, you know, Cori had done it and I thought, oh, that's, you know, it's quite smart to be able to have a little more room in your pockets. Sometimes they can get quite tight, right? But you do you and what works for you. Okay, get in there, pin, get in there. Such a beautiful day here. You wouldn't know it with me wearing my sweater, but oh my goodness, it is. So I'm in Canada, so it's 23 degrees Celsius today. It's so nice and warm. It's like summertime, but the warmer it gets outside, the cooler it gets in my basement, which is great, you know, for the most part. But I'm always cold down here. Let's see, what is it down here right now? It's like 18 degrees. So it's a little chilly down here. Okay, so just hold that down. And there you go. You have made your flip. Okay? So let's pretend that we were doing a page and this was actually our 1.5 inch 1.5 inch piece. Then all we would do is say this would be the fold line, right? That would be the score line for the middle, and we would have how did I do that? Oh, okay, so yeah. This would be the score line, and let's see if I can show you on a bigger piece. This one is the 1 inch, this is the 1.5, right? Yes, okay, so let me just score this and I'll show you what I mean. So we want, there's a half, there's 3/4, score at 3/4, fold, okay. So then what I would do is I would just glue my pocket. When I put this in, I would just glue it at 1/4 inch on the inside of that pocket. So then I would have something that looked like this. So I'd have, you know, a little bit showing of the gray. Okay, and then we have the fold, and then you just literally do the same thing. You make another pocket, flip it the other way, same thing. So if you want it to be a belly band, you're going to leave the bottom open, like we have here. If you want it to be a pocket, you're simply going to glue that pocket down. Okay, so I'm hoping that makes sense to you guys. Let's see, see if we can quickly do another one. Just move this to the side. I'm going to use this paper, so I'm going to score it at 3. I didn't really look at the direction of that, but that's okay. Thankfully, this is really non-directional paper. And then cut it at 4.25. Like so. Cut it at 3. And these are our pockets. Ooh. Okay, I'll punch the thumb notches in here so that they're all even, but I'm not going to bother putting them on right now, just so I can show you. There we go. Go ahead. I like that one this way, and that one's this way. Perfect. Put them all together. That one is just weirdly hanging off, so I'm just going to straighten it up. Not a big deal, but it will bother me. Go ahead and put our paper clips on to hold it in place for us. Make sure it's all still nice and straight. Get our punch. And I use the big paper clips, which I can't do. Sorry, guys. Should have known better. I was like, I can get away with it. Nope. My paper punch does not like that. So, take 2 or 3, 2. We're good. Okay, there we go. There's our pockets. Punch our thumb hole. Good enough for the girls I know, and ta-da! We have all our pockets and everything with the thumb holes the same size and generally in the same position. Okay, so again, going back to here, actually I want to use, this is the color I chose for this hinge. Like I did on this one, I just used some cardstock, buff cardstock that matched, and on this side it's not bad because I'm going to put lace on here. You could even put lace on here, but I just ended up putting some a German dictionary book page here. Just cut it to fit inside. And the reason why I use dictionary page is because it's nice and thin so that it would fold and cover nicely. If I used another thicker piece of cardstock, it's going to buckle and look all weird. So because again, I use just one-sided cardstock. Now, if you notice here, I made a boo-boo. See how this is smaller than this? I forgot to glue this piece inside the pocket. I ended up gluing it on the outside. Not a big deal, not the end of the world. Again, slap some lace or something over top. No one's gonna know unless you tell them, right? Which I just did, now the world knows. But yeah, just something to keep in mind. You wanna make sure that you don't glue your pocket down before you put your hinge in there. So let's hinge this up at 1 and, no, this is 1.5, so we're going to score at 3/4 of an inch. I really hope this is making sense, guys, because it's a really cool project. Again, if I am not doing it justice in terms of how to do the general flip itself, I will link Cori Dahmen's. Did I not score that properly? What did I do? Well, that's right. I'm just having troubles folding, I guess. I will link Cori Dahmen's original video down below so that you can see how she did her flip. She didn't do the page one like I did. That I just kind of ran with. Thought it was a cool idea. Okay. So again, if you don't want to do the gusset, you don't have to. Again, it's just, sometimes it's a little nicer because when you put things in and out, it can get quite tight. But to do your hinges, to glue them down, then I would just line it up on my grid mat here. I would put glue down on the edge here, and then I would glue this, lining it up on the 1/4 of an inch lines here. Okay, like that. And then I would do the same thing with the other pocket. I would glue here, fold my pocket around, right, because it's going to glue on both sides. And then you have the option of the gusset or no gusset, okay? And then you have the same amount coming out of each pocket, because it would be a 1/4 inch glued on either side, right? So you'd like line up your piece, a 1/4 of an inch. Okay, that's a 1/4 of an inch. There we go. Line that up. Why is this not, what did I do? Did I do something funky? Is one side longer than the other? Did I cut cattywampus? I did. That's what's going on. I somehow, sorry guys, I somehow have a bigger strip at the bottom. Let's try this. So we want this at, come on. This is supposed to be 1.5. Slide over there, little buddy. Let's try this again. Yeah, I just have a smidge on an angle there. That's why. Okay. Ooh, thought I was losing my mind there for a second. Does that happen to you guys where you're like, something isn't working? Well, now it's still not. Well, you guys know what I mean. Anyways, it doesn't have to be perfect. I don't know what I've done now. At the end of the day, you know what I mean. You're just going to glue a 1/4 of an inch on either side, and it should be even if you are not an nincompoop like me and can't measure things properly. And then there, you just sew it in. And again, you can decorate, you can put lace. If you're going to cover this up with book page paper, I would probably do it now before gluing it down. I thought of that after when I saw the white. I was like, oh, I don't like that. I want to put something on. So if you don't like just the plain, go ahead and take your paper, whatever you're doing, glue it down first, trim it down, and then it's good to go. You're not going to have any white showing on the edges, like I have a little bit of white here. That doesn't bother me, it's fine. Again, I can put a little piece of lace on there. Like, let's see, we could, you know, have a piece of lace going down like that. We could have the lace on the front like this. Could have it on the bottom. You know, there's endless opportunities to decorate here now. So that is this tutorial. Again, I'm sorry if it doesn't make sense. Go over definitely and check out Cori Dahmen's video as well. And then just, you'll see what I mean about my alteration for the actual like spine part that we want to sew into a page. I'm sure that you guys will kind of pick up what I'm putting down here. So let's pretend. Let's pretend that would be glued, and then that would be glued, and then you've created your little pocket page. Okay. All right, I think I'm okay. I'm gonna finish these off camera. It's been a long day. I was out in the sun for a walk with my family, so I'm a wee bit tired now, and it's now supper time, so I should go eat, and that'll help my brain, I think, function. So guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I guess I could have shown you on this one. See? You have a little bit more of a space here, and then it's hinged, right? You can't see the inside hinge piece, but you'd have like a little bit of a spine showing, like that. Again, if you wanted a belly band, leave it open, a pocket, glue the bottom, yada, 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 and all of that. Okay, I think I'm done now, guys. All right, have a wonderful rest of your day. I appreciate you guys ever so much, and I'll see you next time. P.S. I love you.